My name is Robbie Hutchins, and I'm the Area Forestry and Wildlife Extension Agent for the LSU AgCenter in Central Louisiana.
And I'm Michael Polozola, the Area Horticulture Agent in the Central Region.
Michael, thank you for coming out and meeting me today. We had a homeowner give us a call about some damage to a recently planted live oak tree. And so here's the damage, Michael.
Yes.
What do you think about this?
So this looks very characteristic of mechanical injury for me, and there's a lot of different sources that can cause that type of injury. In your experience, what seems to be the most common cause of mechanical injury in trees?
In a newly planted tree, primarily the damage you're going to find is from some kind of lawn equipment, either lawnmowers or weed eaters.
And it all tends to be somewhat user error related at that point.
That's exactly right, Michael. Sometimes you get some planting injury, but not often.
In this case, it almost looks like, I would suspect this is a weed eater, because this looks like it was mulched right here. So it just seems like instead of hand pulling, they took the easier option instead and did weed eater, and it probably just nicked the tree right there, didn't it?
That's right, and it doesn't take much when you have a young tree. The bark is thin and it's easily susceptible to damage, especially from those thin weed eater strings. Mm-hmm. They really get into the bark. And this particular tree, unfortunately, it looks like it got through the cambium layer even into the heartwood of the tree.
Quite significant there, and we can see where it looks like it's trying to heal over. But why don't you tell me some of the long-term effects this is going to have on the tree, even though it's attempting to heal?
So Michael, that's a very good thing to talk about, because this particular homeowner is concerned and has a question about the need to replace the tree or to take a chance if the tree will heal over and be a long-term tree in her landscape. And so for me, this type of damage, even though it may heal on the outside, you still have that damage on the inside, and especially as low to the ground as it is, and you know, this is right at ground level. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned that with any kind of major storm, as the tree grows and the limbs and leaves get larger and heavier, that the tree will not be able to support that. And so I would recommend actually replacing this tree instead, because it is going to be a center piece and a point of focus in the landscape.
And ultimately, we would probably say that this would cause the tree to fail structurally long term. That's exactly right. Because this has been an entry room for rot pathogens that no matter how, even if you were out here at the time and managed to paint it, there's no way you would have prevented anything from getting in. And no. Painting's not really truly effective, especially since it's so often late after the fact, once you get a colonization of fungi in there.
That's right.
And you'll just have this rot in the center. So best case scenario, this tree might make it 50 to 75 years, but then would eventually fall, but probably much sooner than that.
I would say within the next 10 to 15 years, the way that we have frequent storms in Louisiana, that it would fail right there. And you're right, you know, think about it. We have such a warm, moist, humid environment. Any kind of rots or pathogens just do so well in Louisiana. And so you're right, it's already been infected. And so I don't see any. If it would be me, and I would definitely replace that, because again, this is going to be a center point of focus for the landscape. How could we have prevented that, Michael? Is there a way you think we could have maybe prevented this from happening?
Well, mulches can, but we can see in this situation where mulch probably wasn't a good enough solution to wholly do it. But for areas where you know it's going to be high traffic, I would say a protective barrier of some sort, as long as it doesn't create a weird microclimate underneath here. Because I've seen some weird things, even like in pecan orchards, where it became a haven for slugs and caused other damage.
Or hold moisture.
Right. So you want something to be both a barrier but not create a weird microclimate in there. So right. That would work. And just something like that, and being mindful of it. But in areas where you have high traffic, you know that eventually someone's going to be careless. Having some plastic barrier would probably be, you could even use wire if you needed to, but that can create some other problems long term.
You know, if a homeowner wanted to to at least temporarily, as the tree was young, have even like a wooden bed constructed around it. You just want something there to make everybody be more cautious and careful as they're using this lawn equipment. Before we completely leave this tree, Michael, let's talk a little bit about this sprout out here that we see.
Yes, this is real interesting kind of stress-induced suckers you have coming up from the root systems. So this is saying even the tree as a whole system itself recognizes the injury it has here because it's really interfered with the vascular connection it has there. And you see it seems to form more suckers because we took a few out, like this one earlier that was growing through the middle of this anthill, that it's trying to compensate for said damage by putting suckers. And in some cases I wonder if you might even be able to train one of these suckers up. Now it'd be a very long term because obviously look how small this is, but if it's a big enough sucker, do you think we could even train that as a replacement for this?
Michael, anything is possible, and if a homeowner has enough time and patience, yes. Unfortunately,
not very long-term solution there.
Compared to the size of this particular tree,
which was about this caliber probably when it was planted.
That's right, and it's very tragic because again, this was a pretty large caliper tree, and so again, the effort was made by the homeowner to get a larger tree so that they would have a quote-unquote shade tree in a shorter amount of time, and so this is very tragic. But I appreciate you coming today and looking at this with me and visiting with me. And it really helps to solidify what I already thought was the issue out here. Thank you, Michael.
And hopefully next time it'll be on more pleasant circumstances.